Picture a laboratory. It's pitch black, completely silent except for the low, steady hum of a cooling fan and maybe the occasional sharp flicker of a laser beam slicing through the darkness. Right now, in quiet rooms just like this one, a monumental shift in the global balance of power is taking place. For centuries, we've been told that scientific discovery was the final, untouchable fortress of human intellect, right? It required years of grueling training, those rare flashes of human intuition, and just endless weeks in a white coat. But while the West has been busy debating the limits of artificial intelligence, sources are revealing a really stark new reality. China has built a machine that doesn't just assist human scientists, it actually replaces them. Okay, let's dive into this. Our mission for this explainer is to uncover exactly how this artificial intelligence went from acting like a sophisticated chatbot to becoming a fully autonomous physical researcher. We're going to decode a technology driving this global shift, looking at the hard data and the actual engines making it all possible. Just look at this headline for a moment from South China Morning Post. This is the news behind today's video. Chinese AI agent Qiushi engine outperforms Anthropic's Claude code in autonomous research. Zhejiang University's Qiushi engine topped the research Claude benchmark, but it can't reliably make new discoveries yet. With that said, let's go straight to the intro. The algorithm buries channels that show the truth like mine every single day. The only thing that fights back is you. One like, one subscribe, turn on the bell icon. That's how the truth about China survives on YouTube. Don't let it disappear. Thank you very much. Chapter 1. The Autonomous AI Revolution, Redefining the Frontier. So that old narrative of China as just a fast follower in the tech space, yeah, that is officially dead. And it's a reality that is reportedly leaving Silicon Valley absolutely sweating. Just listen to this powerful quote derived from the research. A machine that doesn't just assist scientists, it replaces them. I mean, wow, we are literally witnessing artificial intelligence move beyond digital text generation and crossing over into the physical realm of scientific discovery. The AI is independently seeking out new scientific truths in the real world. Chapter 2. Qiushi, the Discovery Engine, Seeking Truth at Zhejiang University. Built at Zhejiang University, the absolute centerpiece of this revolution is Qiushi. And fun fact, that name literally translates to seeking truth. This engine actually independently inferred, proposed, and experimentally proved the existence of something called optical bilinear interaction. Now, this isn't some digital parlor trick or a simulation. It is the first end-to-end physical discovery by an AI. And what's super fascinating here is that this physical mechanism is structurally identical to the core attention logic used in digital transformers like GPT-4. Basically, it's paving the way for high-speed, incredibly energy-efficient optical AI hardware. 366.4. That is the exact number of minutes it took the Qiushi engine to complete a highly complex transmission matrix reproduction. Think about that. A massive 206-step investigation done in just a matter of hours. To put that in perspective, what would have taken a brilliant, highly trained graduate student weeks of sustained, grueling laboratory labor was finished in less than a single day. This is the ability to literally compress years of R&D into hours. It's wild. Chapter 3. Engineering the Autonomous Loop, the secret weapon of software strategy. So how is this even happening, especially when you factor in the heavy US chip export controls that limit access to top-tier hardware? And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast between the two approaches. The sources neutrally point out that the Western approach has heavily relied on brute force hardware scaling and premium pricing. But facing hardware constraints, Chinese researchers pivoted to brilliant software-level optimization. They're bypassing the need for massive centralized computing clusters by using what they call loop engineering and highly sophisticated multi-agent scaffolding. Let's break down this loop engineering. It uses something called a nonlinear roll phase decoupling. Essentially, the AI's research process is broken down into three distinct phases. You have Explorer, which handles the literature and hypotheses, then Execute, which deals with the actual coding and physical measurements, and finally Express, which manages the manuscript and critique. Because these phases are completely decoupled from specific AI roles, the system can dynamically adapt. Say a physical measurement fails in the execute phase. The AI's brain doesn't just crash and give up. It dynamically reorganizes its path, jumps back to explore, and refines its theory. It completely separates the high-level reasoning from the low-level data processing, so the AI never gets overwhelmed. But how do they keep all of this on track over thousands of complex steps without the AI just losing focus? Well, they use a protocol called Metatrace. Instead of keeping this massive, messy log of every single thing the AI has done, Metatrace distills all those thousands of reasoning steps into structured, compact units of scientific know-how. This is a huge deal because it prevents the attention dilution that often causes Western models to hallucinate or completely collapse during long-horizon investigations. It essentially keeps the AI on a highly stable trajectory from start to finish. Chapter 4. The Global Benchmark Battle, Evidence and the Economic Warfare. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the hard evidence behind the shifting global paradigm. The data comes from the Research Claude Bench, or RCBench, developed by the Shanghai AI Lab. This is essentially the undisputed gold standard for measuring if an AI can actually do science from end to end. By creating this benchmark, they've positioned themselves as the judges of what actually constitutes an AI discovery. And, well, the numbers speak for themselves. The Qiushi engines hits right at the top with a 30.2% score. That significantly outpaces prominent Western rivals, with Claude Code at 21.5% and Codex CLI at 18.4%. And it's important to note this isn't just Zhejiang University succeeding in a vacuum. The broader ecosystem is moving in lockstep. Just consider Moonshot AI's Kimi K3. This is a 2.8 trillion parameter beast of an open-weight model. It is specifically designed for the heavy lifting required here, things like long-horizon coding, deep reasoning, and massive knowledge work. In fact, analysts in the sources are describing this rapid advancement as a deep-seek moment happening across the board in the Chinese ecosystem. The technology gap isn't being measured in years anymore. According to these reports, it is narrowing down to mere weeks. But here's the true masterstroke of economic warfare that's driving this mass adoption: the token rate price war. While Western firms are often hiking prices to cover their massive compute costs, Chinese providers are aggressively driving down the cost of inference. Think about it. Autonomous agentic research campaigns can easily consume hundreds of millions of tokens. By making these massive investigations both cheap enough and good enough, they suddenly become economically viable for virtually any lab out there. It's a very clear strategy that thins the margins of premium Western AI right to the breaking point. Chapter 5. Limitations and Next Steps. The Boundaries of the Machine. Now, we do need to ground this reality. The machine is incredibly powerful, yes, but it still has very distinct structural boundaries. So the crucial point is this. First, it still requires human objective setting. It lacks the intrinsic curiosity to just, wake up and decide what anomalies to research on its own. Second, it lacks higher-order critical reasoning. As we saw, it still scores below the 50-point human threshold on benchmarks because it suffers from evidence mismatch. Basically, it can't fully independently critique its own methodology yet. And third, right now its capabilities are tightly integrated into specialized optical hardware. To replicate this in, say, a biology lab, you would need entirely new automated instruments. Let's move to and see how this builds into the next steps. The sources show a clear paradigm shift where AI transitions from being just a passive tool to a true research collaborator. Local first platforms like the Open Science Desktop are enabling this secure, rapid workflow. So in this near future, the machines will handle the infinite, grueling loops of optimization and data analysis, while the human scientists are finally freed up to manage the high-level creative direction. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. Thank you so much for exploring this incredibly complex and rapidly shifting landscape with us today. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and understand these massive technological shifts, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop your ideas for our next Frontier Tech Explainer in the comments below. But before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder based on everything we've looked at today. What do you think about the Qiushi engine and this wave of autonomous AI research? Are we actually witnessing the end of the traditional PhD as we know it? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. See you next time.